Making a video with my papa dog. I want to talk about why people worship other people. What's all about this, and where does this come from? What's the originating force that is happening inside of people? And I want everyone to do this introspection with me, and it's also a meditation. So breathe in. So when you breathe in, you hold your breath for a couple of seconds before you let it back out. Okay, it's very important. But you breathe in really, really thoroughly. And then you breathe out and you repeat this. You keep repeating this. This is highly oxygenating the brain and the whole body, and everything's very important to do. Okay? Self-nurturing, the most important thing there is, okay, before looking at Kim Kardashian or Cenk Uygur or anyone or whoever that is, in Hollywood or in the business market, in showbiz market, or on the internet, self-made show business market. So there's a lot of worshiping going on, and I see it in the comments. The comments on any video from Scarlett Johansson. I see comments from men that are so incredibly awful. I don't even want to repeat it. They make me puke, these comments, and I made a mistake of confronting one of those people. And obviously, that person has some kind of they can't even write. They're they're not educated enough, so they have this program where you just talk into it. And the computer will write it out for him. So, those people, they'll, under people's videos, they will basically, with that thing, I mean, it's already like when people write themselves, it's already where you can look into deep into the recesses of their brains. But with this thing, where they don't even have to write it or think about what they're writing, they can just say it as drunk as they are, and the computer will type it out for them. So this guy wrote something that I do not even want to repeat because it's so unpleasant. So I confronted him about this because I see such extreme worshipping and such extreme self-disrespect in that comment. The worshipping of Scarlett Johansson to a degree where it becomes pathological, actually. So I confronted him. I said, why do you degrade yourself like this? Why do you why do you worship someone like this? This is totally insane. It's total insanity. Don't you see this? And the guy said, you're ugly. I guess he was so staggering drunk that he could barely speak, and the computer just did its best to write it out, like you and R, and then lots of R's, like ugly. Okay, so what did I say to that? I forgot now what exactly I said, but I think I said I like the way I look or something like this. And then he said, God bless you. And I said, Hare Krishna. And that was the end of the dialogue. But in the beginning, like, he got real upset. really, really, really upset that I pointed that out. So the ego actually, the ego, you'll probably think the ego doesn't worship anyone because the ego is into the person himself, like, but no, worshiping goes hand in hand with ego also. And there's this, even the self, it's not even in a joking way, these people. I mean, some people, they will be self-deprecating in a joking way, in sort of like an eye twinkling way. But this guy, he was really seriously drunk and serious about it. Um, as serious as one gets when they are seriously drunk. So, but not joking, not in a in any humorous way. There's so no humor in in those statements that he had. It was just alienating. And so Paul is coming back. This video is gonna get interrupted soon with very loud noises, but whatever, it's okay. I want to talk about this. I think this is very important. And so that guy, he's like a troll, kind of like someone who's given up on himself, but who is completely put his lust and worship and adoration and just total wanting, like an infant, like, those people also, they are, how do they call it, anal retentively stuck still in some kind of infancy state. And Dr. Lawrence Kohlberg talked about this as well, how most people are actually in their moral reasoning on the level 1 on Kohlberg's moral reasoning scales. From 1 to 6, most people are on the level 1, which is toddler and infant state. So I'm making video. And so, and many different things come together with this. Watch Dr. Robert Sapolsky's videos. He gets into the nitty-gritty of the biochemistry of all of this, and what kind of things are released in which kind of circumstances, and also genetics play a whole lot of roles in this, and also the biochemistry of intrauterine environment, the self-chemistry development through the environmental influences and stimuli in the way we walk through our lives, the kind of things that trigger us, that stimulate us, the kind of appetite that is stimulated, and the whatever amnesia, not what's the word, anemia, when people are anemic, they're craving certain things. And so everything that is in our environment is triggering a biochemical reaction. So, and hormones in particular. So, a man sees Scarlett Johansson, and a cascade of hormones are released and triggered and generated. It's like a biochemistry factory is happening in the brain and the whole body, and they don't realize that they're completely unconscious about this process of how they are being just like a sort of like a piece of yarn that's hanging on the ceiling that is just blown in any direction by any kind of wind. It's like they're like a piece of yarn, that is reactive to the environment. There's just there's no inner spine happening, no inner free will. And that's also what Dr. Sapolsky said, that people really don't have any free will. There's no freedom of really of choice to make. Like some people less than others, I guess. Some people are even more like a seaweed or a string of yarn so than other people, and so it depends on the intelligence level. So people with very high intelligence tend to have more of a choice, I guess. Obviously that's pretty much what it is. So like a sea cucumber has has no choice at all, because a sea cucumber, which is an animal, but it is it's sort of like kind of like on the fringes, like between plant and animal, or plant and ghost. Yeah. So I love sea cucumbers. They are very cute, and they kind of hang out in tide pools, and they just happen to also to grow, to evolve, sort of like a plant type of animal with an actual nervous system inside, more so than a plant. Plants also are very simplistic, very, 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 very simplistic. It's still really complex, but compared to Papa and myself, so plants have a very simplistic, mechanistic, thermodynamic type of nervous system. Then the sea cucumber will be the next thing towards a sentient animal with a nervous system that is already sort of like independent, and there's more going on in terms of chemical interaction. And so then you take that guy that left the comment, he's kind of comparable to the sea cucumber, particularly in a state where he's totally staggering drunk. There is not much cognitive action going on anymore, and thus like no more choices at all. And I don't know, talking to that person is kind of like wasting my time, but I'm also talking sometimes to a person like this because I am super annoyed, but also to straighten out some facts. Maybe that might help him, maybe not, probably not. Maybe it will get him to introspect, but probably most likely not. Chances are too high that this is not going to do anything for him, it just makes him mad. Then he drinks more, and so there's already shame, that deep-rooted shame from childhood and all of this. I mean, incredible. Those people are usually have been terribly abused, and it's also genetic, not very high IQ to begin with, and then all the abuse on top of it. And if they hadn't been abused, they wouldn't. If he had not been abused, he would not have been an alcoholic, and he would not have had the need to be worshiping someone to that degree. And so all of this worshiping is also happening because of childhood pain, of course. When we have been battered psychologically, made to feel like we are not good enough the way we are, and then always being compared to other people and so on. And yeah, then worshiping happens. And of course, if it's a heterosexual person, he will worship a woman, or a woman will worship a man, and will put that other person, that famous person, way on a pedestal in his or her own mind, and think of that person as being like a god or something, because they have been themselves, they have been beaten down emotionally into submission and into a mental state of where they feel like they amount to nothing and they're never going to make it or whatever. So it's all very horrible. That's why I'm saying, if someone had been treated well by their mothers and had received a lot of love and cuddling and a lot of all of that stuff happening, then that person later on would not get into that situation. They will not get to that point mentally, psychologically, where they worship someone. They might find Scarlett Johansson very beautiful then and all of this, but they're not going to be writing, particularly not writing what that guy wrote. I mean, it's really gross and awful and self-degrading what that guy wrote. And it's just a reflection on his own inner state. And he thinks that his comment was cool and funny, and so he's completely unconscious about all of this. A completely unconscious troll. And it's very sad. And so what I'm trying to do with my videos, I'm just trying to bring some clarity to all of these things, so that it will be a little bit easier for people to do that introspection. Because I'm telling you, you have no idea how rewarding it will be for your life if you can introspect. All of us, if we actually make that step and say, hey, you're onto something, I better look into myself. Tony Robbins helped me a whole lot with that, particularly when he was talking about that one woman who had this trigonometry or something, that's a completely different word, where she was trichopolorami, where she was she was pulling out the hair. I mean, it's not funny. I'm just laughing about the way I couldn't recall the word that he used. So I had a scientific word for this, that word tricho. But it has to do with pulling hair out. And they always give these complex, sophisticatedly sounding names, Latin names, to things that are just very straightforward and simple, and it's very simple, actually, everything. The scientific world, they tend to use these Latin words. They sound more impressing, I guess. They have some real ridiculous research project, and then if they if they color it into Latin names, then it will sound more scientific or something. I don't know. But yeah. But anyway, she pulled her hair out because it's a form of self-destruction. It's also, it triggers certain nerves, and it triggers the self-repairing, and it triggers the corpus callosum to create endorphins in order to balance the pain. So that's basically it's self-mutilation. And that's so people get addicted to it because they get addicted to the endorphins that are then released by the corpus callosum, that can also enter into a dopamine addiction cycle. And so that's what happened to her, but the whole thing was triggered by sexual abuse during childhood. And she was on stage at the Tony Robbins self-mastering event. And it's just 10 more minutes.
Then I'm going to go back. I forgot something.
Okay.
I got bread in the toaster oven for you.
Yeah, be careful, lock everything.
Put your bread in the toaster
oven.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, thank you. So, and I'll never forget this. This was so interesting. So, yes, Papa Doc, we are going to the beach. Yes, be patient. And it was so interesting that what he was saying, because that helped me a whole lot, to understand things better. When we have been abused, and most people have been, And that's why I'm not even I'm not even really mad at this guy with that slurred ugly, because he's he's been he's tormented on the inside, so and I don't look like Scarlett Johansson, so naturally I'm gonna be regarded as ugly, because now he has set the standard so high, for I'm trying to I guess I guess this chair needs to be oiled. So I'm sitting in a massage chair right now that needs to be oiled. The back joint of it, I'm trying to lean this back a little to make it more comfortable, but whatever I try, it's not comfortable. But anyway. So anyway, this lady, the way she was talking about her childhood stuff, and she said that she was abused, but that was the only attention she ever got. That was the only touch she ever got. It was that uncomfortable and awful touch for a child, which is sexually loaded, and for children it's very traumatic. But she said then at some point her father went over and started to molest her little sister, and he left her alone. That was good in one way, that he left her alone after that. But then she had no more touch at all. So when that is the only touch, when a trauma touch is the only touch for a child, then that's really, really sick, a sick society. So, and, of course, the outcome is very, very tormented and twisted and confused humans. And that's what we're seeing. That's why the world is in such turmoil. That's why there are such horrible decisions made, and so much based on greed and on this blindsided, narrow-sighted, short-sighted, narrow vision, type of corporatism and greed-based decisions that are not good for life on earth, and all of this is because of childhood pain, because I'm telling you, this is the truth. That's why I'm telling you that it is this. You cannot imagine how important it is. You can never ever push this aside and marginalize what I'm telling you right now. It is the most important thing to love your animal and your baby infinitely much, So your animal baby, your human baby, they all need constant handling, loving, non-sexual, loving, caring touch. Very infinitely important that people know this, that people realize this. Okay, very, very important to give your animal babies, your animals and your human babies, animals and children, non-sexual, kind, caring, nurturing, physical touch and love, and looking after them and protecting them from everything, not letting them, never leaving them unattended, and never leaving them together with a dangerous situation or something like that. Always looking after them until the children have become adults, and the animals are always staying children. Papa Dog, he's 9 years old. That is already very, very old. Quite old. For a dog, for his type, they get about to be 12, between 12 and 15. So 9 is already quite old. I hope he'll become 15 or 16. It would be awesome, or more. But he's already old, but like in human terms, he would be like someone who is 70. So, but the dogs are always staying our children. They cannot be surviving in the wild. They do not survive in the wild. They have evolved out of that situation. Okay? They've evolved so far away from the wolf, where they originate from, that they can no longer take care of themselves. Particularly not in a human-dominated world with cities and all of these things. They cannot survive. So an animal is always our child. Could be a large animal like a horse. Will always be our child. They cannot take care of themselves. So we have to, and they need touch at all times, and we need touch as adults too. So we always need touch, but it's the most important is the basic first couple of years of our lives. That is the most important thing. And that's very obvious to me. I studied psychology in graduate schools, universities, colleges, in private schools, and on my own. And what I see is just plain simple observation. The internet is perfect for this. I see that most humans have not received that love that I'm talking about. Okay, and that's why the world is in such turmoil. That's why this guy writes like this, or speaks into his speaker, and the computer writes it out. And he can barely talk, like can barely talk, because he's so drunk, and he his life, like it is a conglomeration of one thing after another, like that has made him stupid. It has made him non-functional. It has made him psychologically completely unfunctional, where to the point where he can't even appreciate anything anymore. He wouldn't appreciate an older lady with wrinkles who's fat, or he couldn't do this, no matter even if he himself looks like a blob. I don't know, like a sick blob with herniations and whatever. No, he will not appreciate anyone other than Scarlett Johansson, because his mind has locked itself into this stellar beauty that is presented to these people, sort of like here's the chocolate, but you can't have it. And then they want that chocolate, and they don't want the oatmeal cookie that is offered to them. Yeah, they can have the oatmeal cookie, but the chocolate is what they see all the time, on TV, in the shows, in the movies, and in social media, and so on, the photos of the chocolate that they want. But they can only have, in actuality, the oatmeal cookie sits next to them and watches the chocolate too. The oatmeal cookie says, "But I'm here for you." But they go, "Yeah, but I don't. I want the chocolate." So it's locked itself into this, and it's such an unfortunate situation. And if I can just get this message across to those people, and I know someone who committed suicide because he wants the chocolate and not the oatmeal cookie. To use that example, that it's an analogy for a man who wants the Scarlet, who wants the Elizabeth Taylor, the Marilyn Monroe, the Kim Kardashian, and who can't have her, and he'll not go for anyone other than that standard, that queen standard. So we had a friend, his name was Gary Allen. He fell in love with a woman who was obviously that level of beauty. He couldn't have her. He ended up in the hospital. We helped him. We got him out of the hospital, went hiking with him. We tried to help him. Then we moved away. So, but we stored some stuff in his backyard in a locker. So we Paul called him. We were on our way back to pick up the rest of our stuff from from LA, from where he was living, and down in the valley, San Fernando Valley. And we were on our way down there, and he knew we were coming. And 2 days in on our drive down there, because it would take us a week to get there or something, because we wanted to take our time. 2 days in, his friend called us up and said that he had committed suicide. He had jumped out of his doctor's office window. And I just completely collapsed with this. I just completely lost it because I knew, I could tell, I knew his story, I knew how much he was suffering. So it turned out that, he had fallen again for a woman. He had told Paul also in the previous conversations on the phone, and his friend told us more about this situation. So he had fallen for this woman, also that standard of chocolate that is always shown, that's always been represented to us as, you know, as the queen, as that what you want. It's been told to us, you want this chocolate, and nothing else. So then there's only a few women who can match up or approximately match up to that level of queen. So he fell in love with this one girl that worked in a Subway sandwich store. And he couldn't get her, and there was absolutely no chance. So, and that, and also bad health, and all of these things coming together, and then knowing that we were coming to pick the stuff up, and he probably thought he was, he was embarrassed probably about all of this, instead of, and that's also so awful, when people put the ego with the embarrassment, and I see this so much in the world, they put the ego even above their own lives. So when the pride and the ego, when the shame and the embarrassment, when all of this weighs more than their own value of their own bodies. So all of these things, is such extreme tragedy. And this guy, he wasn't bad looking, and he was very intelligent. He made kites. He knew how to make a wonderful flying kite. And he was very technological, and he understood things right away. And he didn't have an education because, I don't know, I think he was too shy or something. There's a lot of shyness also. And so very tragic, all of this, and pain from childhood, believe me, lots and lots of pain, as his parents also had been through a painful childhood themselves, and it just keeps on going on. That's why it is so important that someone shines light into this and brings this to the surface and makes this understood, how infinitely important it is to be a rock solid mother or father for the child, and be there for the child, not want to take from the child anything, not take their youth, not take their childhood away with sexual demands or something. Be totally like a rock solid, strong person, even if you had been through the pain and all of this. Become conscious. That's what I'm trying to say. Someone has to break that cycle of pain. Okay. We have to pull ourselves together now on our own bootstraps. We have to become conscious about this and say, we are not giving our adoptive adoptive child or biological child, we are not giving that same pain to them that we have experienced from our families. Okay, that is the most important important message that I have to give with this, because then these things don't happen where people don't value themselves and they start worshiping someone else and somewhere someone worshiping someone, or being also that easily influenced by the beauty standards that are given to us, basically sort of like a brainwashing tool. This is beautiful and this is not. That's what basically the show business is giving to the public, and that is a terrible mistake to make, because we're all beautiful, okay, and we need to believe in ourselves. Paul is coming back. He's going to open the door and it's going to be loud. So you guys take care. Bye bye.